Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talking Initiative, where we talk about initiative. John, what are we talking about today?
Well, I was going to say welcome to Talk Initiative, the show that we are no longer bound by the constraints of times and physics. And also the episode,
We are?
the show where Bucky is a fucking liar. Hey, so yeah, today we're going to be talking about episodes 15 and 16, aka chilling with the homies, aka the homies are all dead giants.
AKA the 12-page puzzle.
Yeah, 12-page puzzle.
Yep.
Puzzle.
Actually, it's a
puzzle.
nine-page puzzle. Please get that correct. 9-page puzzle.
Oh, 9 pages. Sorry.
12 is just too many pages for a puzzle.
9 is just right.
Nice. Sweet.
So yes, there was a lot of puzzles to be had in these last two episodes because lo and behold, I talked to my team here and I was like, "Hey, what y'all want?" And they were all like, "Motherfucking puzzles!" So I gave them some puzzles.
Four puzzles.
So I will happily hand the reins over to Sir Nicholas over here. Sir Nicholas, please indulge us with the happenings of episodes 15 and 16.
Okay, so this one's really simple, right? So we get deeper into these catacombs that we were exploring last episode, and we come across our first puzzle. We nail our first puzzle, and that gives us access to other puzzles, and then we nail those puzzles, except for one that Drew messes up. And we get dumped with so much giant lore. I loved every second of it. We got to play some choose your own adventure style games in a choose your own adventure game. It was
They were all super
absolutely
depressing.
amazing. Yes.
Most of them were.
Yeah, I'm afraid to go into too much detail because I don't want to ruin all of the hard work that Bucky did on creating these puzzles. So just the general outline of the two episodes are we each got to seemingly enter the final moments of these giant heroes that we have been told about, and that are resting in this place, and we got to get a little bit of information about them, which is really awesome. And if we solved the puzzle, which we did most of the time, we got amazing gifts that that really help us out in the long run. So thank you, Bucky, for that.
No problem.
But
Spoiler. I don't think we've used a single one of them.
No, that's not true.
No.
Morgan's used hers.
Oh yeah.
yes.
Oh yeah.
'Cause
The only one who's paying attention.
there was no way I was going to give her that and have her not use that.
True.
I
Wait.
forgot if I've used my armor class bonus yet.
I don't know if you
I don't know
have.
if I have.
Maybe you might have. You might have.
No. Bucky, that's not this puzzle. That's her item.
What?
What?
No.
Hunter's Mark?
No, Hunter's Mark.
Hunter's Mark is
It's Hunter's
is one of my runes.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck. I was
Yeah.
thinking about the other thing.
And I got Healing Grace, which I've used to heal somebody, which
I mean-
adds an HP point to my healing, which is
I
really
just haven't had a reason to go faster yet.
Zell's never
Gotta go
needed a
fast.
reason.
Zell hasn't wanted to hit Mach, like, what is it? What is the
Exactly.
fastest one we have right now?
Oh god.
Mock Zell.
5.
Moxel.
Yeah, Mach
yes.
Zell. Mach X.
I mean, there's gonna come a time when I'm gonna need that extra 10 feet of movement. And it's gonna happen. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. So yeah, how'd you all feel about finally, after all this time, having some interesting puzzles that you guys could kind of figure out and solve?
Oh my god, I loved it.
Very
that was
happy
so
about it.
cool.
To be
It
very
was a nice
specific,
change.
I was happy recording them. I was happy
Editing is a
doing
different
them.
story.
Editing them was a whole different story. Doing them was pretty great.
They were great
Um,
because previously all we were doing was punching things.
No, that's true. And also, it was I felt it was an interesting way to kind of get a little bit further insight into giants and kind of what they do and what they stand for. Because that was kind of what the whole intention of this place was for you guys to all. I know, like I said before, I know Drew and Josh have some knowledge about giant kind, but this was really focused more so on all of y'all need to get caught up on giant lore because it's going to be really important in the future. And if you don't know what the heck's going on, there's going to be a lot of confusion. A lot of this game's not going to make sense, which is my one of my big gripes with this campaign is they don't give a lot of like moments for the players to really learn about the lore of giants and get caught up with that, unless they like do the boring thing of like, oh, we're in Waterdeep, let's go to a library and read about giants. This was more of a game focused and like character focused method of introducing lore in an interesting and creative way that makes it also more memorable than rather me just listing off a bunch of information.
Yeah, better way to get exposition than just blatantly saying and going, that was a cool book.
Yeah, it means more because then when you think about certain things, like, oh, I remember that like scene that when I was that giant and I did that thing, and that's what that stands for.
I think it also like humanizes these like antagonists in this like role in a way that is maybe like a nuance that is like typically missed. Of like, they're not just like all giants are bad. You get to see them as their heroes and their tragedies, and you experience that. So I think like it added a whole new layer of like understanding and nuance to the story.
Right, because giants are very much just like people. When we think, oh, people, we can very much easily generalize a lot of people too, because it's just like, oh, it's just a like random group of people and they're all their own people. Giants are very much the same way. They have their own emotions, they have their own ways of thinking. They're not just like, oh, giants are the bad guys. They have stats, they must be bad guys. No, not necessarily so.
They aren't like monsters. They're sentient people.
Yeah, just very large.
I really appreciated it because Barty is supposed to know about giants and Nick does not. So it was very, very awesome to get some added information that I could call back upon. It was really, really cool. Really good.
That's another thing that's difficult to do in games like this, when like you play a wizard or something like that who's supposed to be knowledgeable, but you don't have a lot of knowledge about the world of D&D. It's like being able to be like, how can I give you this knowledge without just being every single time the topic comes up going, hey DM, what do I know about this? What do I know about this? What is this thing? It was more fun that way. And I also really enjoyed writing those kind of little snippet prose stories, which was fun and cool.
You know what I've also realized was recently I played the newest God of War, and in there you get to see giants in some respect. Thinking about it outside of it and not having a real reference, you're like, yeah, giants are pretty big. Cool. Like, what am I, up to their knees? But it's kind of hard to process that because we don't deal with that on a regular basis. Right. Being in the game and seeing that scale and how that works has really helped show what it should look like in the game in my head. So when we're actually talking to giants or dealing with all these different things going on, that game has just put a nice perspective and look onto it. We're like, wow, they're really big.
I will say though that the giants in God of War are definitely bigger than the giants that we're talking. Like, that's a gargantuan, massive scale. Yeah. Of like, oh, this one giant is literally the size of New York City. Like, no.
Yeah. I'm the size of its ring. That's weird. Yeah. But it made it feel even cooler of like, yeah, these guys are very, very large, and we're like, oh, we may have to kill some of these somehow. Weird.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed these sessions, and I enjoyed having the puzzle solving of having these really interesting stories that all had their a specific theme, or now as I realize I should have called it a motif, which was the word apparently I was looking for back then, of what each story was, and tied them into these runes that the party would have never otherwise discovered. Like the third page of the book is, here's a bunch of giant runes, and then they never show up in the game. It's just a bunch of random runes. And I mean, I guess that's partially just like a way that Wizards was like, here's a resource, do what you want with it. We didn't, but doesn't mean you can't. Which is cool. I like being given random information to be able to feed to my players and kind of pick and choose what I want to introduce and whatnot. But yeah, it was fun and I enjoyed it. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
These little peek behind the curtain, these stories that we reenacted of these giants, was that all that came from you, or were those like actual stories of giant history?
Nope. Those are all NPCs I made up and stories that I made up.
You're the man.
Thanks, man.
That's cool.
Yeah, I really just like thought about like I wanted to give each of you guys a kind of snippet of. I know a bunch about giant lore now that I knew previously to running this game, and I kind of like got the snippet of what each type of giant is. So I wanted to write these stories. I basically was like, I'm gonna look at a rune and then think about, all right, what kind of a giant could I incorporate with this type of rune and create an interesting story around, and put pieces of giant lore within each story for you guys to kind of pick up on, like within the what I think it was one of the ones that Nick chose with the giant that was dying on the beach, where he was bleeding out. There was all the symbolism of blood and all that. A raven ended up showing up and was a messenger of death to kind of pinpoint that storm giants very much care about omens, and they take them very highly. The frost giant, the like ones with the frost giants, usually involved battle, so there was a recurring theme of them fighting in them. So it's like, okay, frost giants are very aware of their martial prowess, and they treasure that more than other things. A lot of detail went into for anything with the fire giants going into the craftsmanship of the weapons and the armor they were using. So in trying to instill those ideas of like, okay, I want to make an interesting story based off of the motif of this rune so that you can get what the idea is, but also incorporate what each giant kind of represents and what they believe to hold in regard more than anything else. So that going forward, you see a giant and you can go, okay, this all ties together and this makes sense now.
Yeah. It's a really good showing of like what your own mind can create to enhance these worlds. You know, it's like I've read a few modules before, and in my readings, I assume this is like the text. Like there's no deviating from it, but the whole game is just a matter of making it your own. So it's like it was really, really cool to see you create like something that I'm like, oh, this is totally in the book. And then you come later on and be like, nope, this is all off the top of the head or all done by me. You know, that was like, oh, okay. So you really can just take it and make it whatever you want and use and pick and choose what you decide to actually do with the games.
Yeah,
I've only ever done it like from page 1, then page 2, and trying to get everyone to follow a story.
Like
so
I highly guarantee if any of you guys ran this campaign, it would be vastly different than what I've done. Like everybody has their own DM flair. Everybody wants to incorporate things and tell a story in a different way. So
yeah,
don't be afraid to be yourself when telling, even playing a game or running a story that was already written. Throw your own influence in there. It makes it more fun and meaningful.
Did you ever play Storms Kings before we started this?
Nope.
Huh.
Yeah, it's all of our first times for it. And also, Nick, I'd be curious to see what you do, because with I know you're running Lost Mine of Phandelver with some people at work and stuff here.
It's a long situation. We haven't played in a long time, but
it's fine. But with that or with anything else, it'd be fun to see you hit the same point that I ended up doing. John got on board really quick because he ran a homebrew campaign before this. But like for me, for Strahd, that was my first thing DMing and also a module. And I did the exact same thing that you just said, which was it's in the text. I need to honor the text. That's what it is. And then after Death House, I'm like, but what if I change that? And then
But what if it was for puppies?
Yeah, but what if this? And then by the end of it, I'm like, let's redo the Death House. Screw it. Let's change that up. We don't need that chapter. Whatever. So
that's why.
I mean,
it's
no,
same
to
deal.
be fair, I did the same thing though. I kind of at the beginning of this game, I was very much like, oh, everything else could be from the book, and then after time, when I realized like things weren't working out, it took me a little while to be like, oh, you know what? Why am I doing this? What am I, stupid? I could just make everything whatever that. It's my world, and I can do what the fuck I want. I can do no fucking dragons have pouches now. Who cares? It's fucking whatever.
I guess that's the benefit of having a semi-regular long-running game, is that because what's happening with Lost Mines is that I've played the beginning twice at this point, and now I'm starting to think of all the things I want to change about it to make it new and refreshing. When you're playing a longer campaign and you're guaranteed to keep coming back to it, it's probably a little bit easier to deviate from the story at that point than, you know, having to wait until a new session starts or starting from scratch.
I mean, seeing what
That
the
was
Adventure Zone did with the beginning of Lost Mines and then where they went with it was completely in a different direction. They just used it as a launch off point.
Yeah, I definitely gotta say that was probably one of my biggest reasons for feeling like I had to kind of stick with the book, is I was afraid of doing something of my own volition and then deviating the story and like moving away from it and being like, oh shit, I fucked up. I gotta fix
Now
that.
how do I get it back?
Now how do I get that? Like I went off the rails for a little bit. I gotta somehow figure out how to steer that back, and that was kind of like my biggest worry at that point. But as we've been playing and kind of realizing like, oh, I can kind of change and manipulate whatever I want. If it gets to a point where something changes, I'll just fix it somehow. I don't know. I'll figure it out then. I'll go, just give me a minute. I gotta read something, and then I'll figure something out.
That was absolutely my concern as well. Like full on. Not with you doing it. I was like, what if I missed a detail and they
Right.
go here and they're supposed to meet this person, but they're dead all of a sudden? Now what do I do?
Yeah.
And then it's, I guess we're winging it.
I guess like having an idea of where the story is going ahead of time, it allows you to deviate per session because you know where you need to get back to. You know, it's like, but if you don't have a plan, like if you're just like, oh, I want to change something without actually thinking it through, you're kind of like, you might find yourself getting so far off course that you're like, oh, I don't even recognize where I am anymore. So
And
it's
now
a
we're
little-
playing the jungle module.
yeah, exactly. Oh, now I'm in a completely different area that's not covered. So.
And then we got DMs like Drew who walk into a game expecting their players to break it and waiting for that moment to happen.
You all break everything. Don't even try to lie.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Wild sheep chase anyone? Anyone?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, that was the best.
It actually was a really good.
The number one
enjoyed-
case of there's the plot. Nope, walking away from that shit.
Ah, boy,
Never
that's
seen
a
people
dragon.
Ignore
Guess we're
plot
gonna-
faster.
Go now.
I love it because it was always meant to be a one shot, right? So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
It was literally
Yeah.
just a one shot to record.
and there was we had done a lot up until that point, so it's like, oh, we had been playing for a few hours, so you still feel fulfilled even if we didn't do all of the story you had planned. Just like, oh, it's still fun. You still played for a few hours and had a good time.
Yeah. I mean, I went in the same way with you, Adam and Joel. I'm like, it's only a matter of time before either you all die or you're not
Yeah.
in Chult anymore. Like, I knew I was going in with the lightest amount of story because that was not the point. The point was just to have you guys talk.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Same. As Lilith says, it's fun to break Drew. Sorry, the story. Like, yeah.
Sometimes it can be.
Couldn't
It depends
hear
on
you,
it
Drew.
depends on the group.
That it's not fun to break me.
It depends. It's one of those things where it's it's comfortability with your group, and also like obviously like breaking their DM story. If the DM has like a set story for you guys and you actively try to break it, I mean, kind of make sure it's okay with the DM first that you go through that style of play, because it can lead to a lot of hilarity, but it can also lead to a lot of frustration.
Oh my god, I can't imagine if we would have deviated right before this puzzle. You did all this work and we're just like,
You see a staircase that goes down. Nah, I'm
We're
good.
gonna
We'll
live in
leave.
Bryn Shander forever.
I mean, honestly, the worst that would have happened is I would have been like, all right, you don't find out shit about the Giants. Moving on.
save it for
Get
another
decimated
campaign.
in the war at the end.
We all start, fishing. That's what we do. Stay in Bryn Shander and fish.
Moose was ready to start a pumpkin garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do that.
You're right there.
Good.
Yeah, just do the normal Ted reaction, which is like, we're going to go here instead. And he's like, all right. And then just go there for a while.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I mean, this game is very much fucking Legend of Zelda-esque, like Breath of the Wild-esque. It's like you have this massive open world and you're going to spend your time collecting bugs.
Shrines. Shrines.
Going to shrines and collecting bugs.
yeah. Shit, there was something else I was going to bring up. Damn it. Oh, there's also the thing that happened with Jeff. We're finally,
yeah.
That was a big thing. How are you feeling about that, Hannah?
Monster.
Wait.
Uh,
Oh yeah.
Guess the Storm King.
it's really gonna fuck me up, but we have to kill Jeff at the end.
Yeah, because you brought that in yourself. We didn't just put that on you. You were like, I'm gonna have a pet Jeff. And
Almost just going to say, all y'all are being really assumption-y of the fact that you think the Storm King is a bad guy. Just saying.
Well, I don't think of Thunder as like a loving.
And given what you now know about giants,
And
they
given-
come in all
I mean,
shapes and sizes and alignments, so...
Given
It's
what we
true.
know now, where we are in playing it about giants, I mean, he's not like our BFF.
Well, we don't know him yet.
We don't know. Yeah.
That's
Haven't
true,
even
he
met
could
the
be
guy.
very cool, very chill.
Bucky, I think you just blew my mind. What if it's a Yeah. All right.
It's just
so
the Storm
actually-
King playing bowling.
Yeah,
it.
he's just really getting into bowling. It's a New Year's resolution.
Yeah, you just get to his lair and he's just chilling out, drinking a beer, throwing darts at a board, and he just walks up and you're like, oh, hey, what's up?
Oh shit.
Here? Okay, so like actual serious answer about Jeff. I think it was really interesting because Moose didn't see it. I think Mortimer was really the only person that clued in on that, right?
Yeah, I was the only one.
Yeah. So playing, the subsequent episodes, knowing that somebody else knows some weird shit about Jeff, but Moose doesn't, was kind of hard.
That character versus player knowledge can.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah,
really
wow.
tough to break, or to create a line that you try not to cross with your characters.
Yeah.
Also,
we have a habit all the time, so
This is
you
something
don't know that.
Bucky concocted entirely by himself. So I'm like,
What are you?
tell me everything.
How dare you write things about my character that I don't know?
No, but I love it. That's great. That's the exciting part of it for me. I just want to know everything now.
Yeah, I think, John, you explained it a while ago of writing your backstory, of writing enough so the DM knows what you're getting at, but
Right.
leaving room enough for the DM to have something to play with to even surprise you.
Yeah.
Right. It's everybody should be equally surprised by the things that happen.
Yes.
And
Oh.
it's like you create this character that you say you know everything about, but then the DM comes up with something like, oh, but this shit, and you're like, wait, what?
As long
Case
as it
in
doesn't
point,
break the
everything in the party.
mold.
Right.
As long as it doesn't break the character and completely change who they are at the core,
Mhm.
I think that's usually best. Like something from
Yes,
their
definitely.
backstory or another character, or, with you and Ven and Petros and Ven's
Yeah.
grandmother and mother, like that all stuff. Like you intentionally left very blank.
Mhm.
So that's helpful.
Yeah.
And Mortimer stuff, I basically gave the exact same biography that Nick did for me. It was like, here's a page.
Yeah.
There you go. This is
Enjoy,
his
dude.
life. Have fun.
Meanwhile, Morgan's in Google Docs on her 20th page.
Yeah. That's true.
How many pages
Yeah.
did you hit?
I'll look it up.
Hey, do you find it easier or I mean all of the DMs in the group? Do you find it easier to work with characters that have a fully fleshed out backstory already coming in, or would you rather prefer leaving a one page let's keep it really simple and doesn't
So
really
you brought up a big question that's been under a lot of debate for a lot of people, because I know I've seen a lot of things all over the place from several DMs on Reddit or on the internet that are just like, I don't like big, long, drawn out backstories. And a lot of people who sometimes do, and they're like, oh, I appreciate that level of detail.
Morgan and I just made the exact same face. How
Yeah.
dare you?
Right. So
That's my character.
it's a mixed
I don't
bag.
have time and edit. I made a Pinterest page.
Right.
I wrote the novel.
It's a mixed bag of like it's interesting to have a fleshed out backstory, and for me personally, the way I envision it is that like an entire person's life doesn't amount to one page. If you're playing a character who is like 5 years old, sure, maybe not much has happened in their life, but
I
like
know.
someone who's in their 20s, in their 30s, like they've done stuff, they've experienced life, and things have happened with them. So like, especially for us who are going to be acting out these characters, it helps to have a reference to draw back to of like, how would this
Yeah.
person act in this moment?
I think that there's a difference, I think the big difference there is not just a DM who's like, oh, I hate when people are very prepared to role play their characters. Because I don't think any DM is going to say that, like, how dare you have a lot of thoughts about how you're like, that's a very silly DM if
Yeah.
so. I think that the difference is you have to like surrender as a player during the course of the game that you can't control everything that's happening.
Mhm.
And so if you've got a person, and it's hard because sometimes you put so much work into a backstory, you have a very clear idea about what your character would do or what their backstory was like. But in the course of a game, you kind of have to surrender that to say, this is what's happening. I can't control this. It's not my novel. So you kind of have to let that kind of go. And
Right.
that's a difficult part. If you've got a player who's like, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen because according to page 55 of
Right.
my Google Doc, that would never happen because of like, that's not a fun player, frankly.
No, right.
But like you can have players who have a single page and have really great role play and really great depth in their story. And you can have players who have like 80 pages of backstory and a Pinterest page and still have a really good time with them. It's just like your willingness to go with the story and create new ones for your character.
Yeah, I mean, for Kent, it was one page, and I guess because I was new to the game, it was like, it was really interesting to play a character whose story is basically just starting. So you're not tied so much to the backstory, so you could fill that in later if needed. Barty, on the other hand, has lived a life and has a lot of backstory, and that's a big change from where Kent was at the beginning. So it's interesting to see how I'm relating to the character that already has this like depth of history. And it's actually making me wish that I did more deep diving. Like I see how well you guys know your characters, and I'm like, ooh, I wrote Barty with like a history, but I should have like really I wish I could really break it down and like know every detail.
A star chart.
Yeah.
I
a
do
vision
a lot
board.
of like online personality quests tests as my character before I
Oh,
start
that's
playing
cool.
one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good idea.
I'm actually more on your side here. Not a side, but your approach. I don't think I've ever written more than a page for a single character I've played. Because when I go into it, I like to go in with a very loose bit. It's actually how I used to do a lot of public speaking stuff and speeches and all that kind of projects. Is I always like to wing things, because as much as I try to plan, when I go to play the character, I'm realizing they're a bit different when I start speaking and interacting than I intended. So I like to build the character as the game is going, because that's the interesting part, because you're doing the character growth then.
Yeah.
It's also very natural.
Yes.
Right? Of like a very natural response, as opposed to the pause of like, how would this person do this according to everything I've thought about it, and just being like, just reacting in the moment. So
both approaches are completely valid. Like seeing Kent's character transformation from episode 1 to the end is a massive arc.
Yeah.
Like, you completely changed by the end of it.
Thank you.
Hell, the time jump itself was just
exactly.
a switch.
And that's really cool. Great about the story is that long form, you could really see your characters grow. And if you have a very I don't want to say thin, but like a short backstory coming into it, you can also grow in reverse and really fill in those gaps of how you even got to the point you are, and how it actually affects how your character becomes later on. So it's kind of interesting to see that Kent, who started off his journey very early on, grew as a character, but Barty, who's starting this campaign in the middle of his life, really, he's growing as he continues, but also his backstory to me is getting more and more fleshed out, and I'm learning more about Barty every time I play him.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it.
Lilith made a good point, which is I have the key life events fleshed out for my character. I think that's a great approach. That's what I did as well. It's
Very good approach.
Yeah, we'll see that later on from Warner, but that's basically what I handed over to John, was like, here's the key stuff. Fill in whatever you want in between. You think I know somebody at some point, as long as it makes sense as per the skeleton structure. Great. Awesome. I think, did we have our perception check about this, like role-playing stuff? I think we did, talking about backstory.
I think we did.
Yeah, we did. We talked about backstory approaches and think.
Yeah. It's also
But yeah, it's...
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that like a lot of it also comes down to the DM, because I know there's some DMs who will flat out be like, all right, so we're going to start this game, make your own characters, but they'll flat out tell their players, don't write a backstory longer than a page. And it's like, I get,
don't tell me what to do.
That partially, yeah, it's very limiting to your players, because everybody has different approaches and everybody has different things, and how they get into their character is very different. So it has to be this mutual understanding of, yeah, the player has to get in their own way of being able to get into their character, but also the player has to understand that they can't limit the DM's creative intent so much that like every session is like the player being like, I need this to go the specific way because my character is a specific way, and this is the way it has to go, or it's a bad game. And it's like,
that's the case. Write a book.
Right.
Yeah.
Write a book and then don't play the game.
I had this, I think we talked about it on Perception Check. It was really funny when we came up with Charlotte and Krusk, because I come from very like long form writing, and like I know so much about Charlotte, and I like read all of her like likes and dislikes and what colors she likes and what flowers she likes and what her hobbies are. And Drew is not from that school of character building. And so I like basically gave him like a questionnaire for Krusk.
I will say it's not that I'm not from that school of character building. I'm from that school of I'm not going to write 20 pages and then hand it to a DM and then everything that's in there is just like, okay.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like, because nothing
Yeah.
frustrates me more when I put time and effort. I'm like, oh, this guy has this and he's done this. He lived this life. He's got all like, he would have these kind of like minor skills or whatever. It's just like, no.
Yeah, and then
He's a
just
level
tells
1
their
fighter.
story.
I'm 45 years old. I'm not a level 1 fighter. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I think it also comes down to like expectations management, because I don't make characters the same for each game that I play. So like obviously I'm
Yeah.
doing a lot more for this game, and I do get to play with the like psychology and growth and development of this character, because the podcast is a really good medium for it, because I can sit here and go, okay, because nobody in the end is actually going to see me like stare into the void for 20 minutes. But if I'm doing that at a table where like everybody just wants to kill the Kraken,
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend, a week and a half
Yeah, that's
writing
good
about
point.
this
Very good point.
character.
Right.
I have a name, a character, and like 2 sentences about who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
It's also, if you're doing the long form campaign or if you're going into a one shot, why by all means, you can put 20 pages of backstory into a one shot character. Maybe
That's what I did with the one shot that Morgan ran. I have like 4 Google Docs about it.
Yeah, because that character can always go on to other things.
Other things, yeah.
And if anything, that one shot is a part of their backstory now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you wrote it as you did it. Like we did that with Gav's games. Gav is my 5-year-old, and we, Morgan, Bucky, and I, and Gav sit down at the table, and I run them through the essentials
Starter
kit.
kit?
The essentials kit, yeah.
Yeah.
And those characters didn't take very long to build. Gavin's character is a pretty, normal, not normal, but very small description of a character, and it's fine. You were going through, adventure to adventure, just getting money, going through. We didn't really need the backstories for those characters.
No, I literally hit random on a character generator, and then I turned to Gav and I was like, "Hey, Gav, what's my character's name?" And he just said, "I don't know." So I named him I don't know.
And now he has an Eric Cochra as a secondary character, a backup character called Oh No.
Aw.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think there's like a very big difference. I played a bard named Kanye once for a one shot. Like,
Yeah, you did.
yeah, like you have different expectations for different games, and I think it's just like how you approach it. And I think everybody needs to have a little bit of flexibility. I feel like as a DM, if somebody hands you something that has clearly been worked on, like have respect for that and like try to incorporate certain things. You don't have to go by it as a Bible, but it's nice to have a DM who is considerate of the work that you've put into the game and wants to incorporate aspects of it. And as a player, like you have to go into it with the same mindset of like, I'm respectful of the story that the DM is playing. There's some stuff that will be exciting for me to add what my backstory is, but I also am respectful of the fact that it's a new story that someone else is telling. I'm contributing to.
Yeah.
So
It's also good
Be
to know
respectful.
that some of your stuff in the backstory may not fit the campaign at all and may not
Yeah.
get mentioned, and that's okay.
Yeah.
John, you did this as well for Storm Kings. I believe it's because it's in the book and it's a good decision overall. We did it for Strahd, which was everybody's backstory and like big story arc for their character doesn't happen in Arc 1. Arc 1 is getting to know that character, seeing if they actually live for a bit. Seeing how everyone interacts. So that way the DM has time to go, oh, okay, this person is more on this side of the backstory than this kind of stuff. This stuff matters more. And then you can build afterwards. Having those
You very
initial
much-
sessions are great.
You very much don't know who a character is going to be until you sit down at the table and start playing them.
Yep.
Like you can write a whole big book about who you want this person to be, or you can write 2 sentences about it, and then all of a sudden you just say something in game, and you're all of a sudden like, "That's something new I learned about the character. That's what I'm doing now."
Yeah.
I agree with that because I wrote 20. I looked it up. I wrote 22 pages of like novella style backstory for Surreal, but I didn't start writing that until probably our like 10th session. And that was because when I first conceptualized Surreal, she was way more of a playboy and like way less sensitive than I ended up experiencing her to be. Like she's a little bit more of a gooey like oatmeal cookie than I was expecting her to be. And then after being able to play her for a little while and get a feel for who she is, that's when I was like, okay, now I kind of want to sit back and think about how she got here. So inform your playing informs your thing. It's all coming together, guys.
Yeah, don't expect your DM, don't expect to write a story and be like, oh, my character has this like super like incredible foil that is their like the bane of their existence. Don't expect that foil to show up in episode 1.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, maybe at some point if it ties in well to the story, but like,
Yeah.
not everything's gonna happen all at once.
I mean, Mortimer was initially announced in your little kind of voiceover thing in the first episode as the vigilante. He hasn't done any vigilanteism. Right. Like the story doesn't lend to that. Like his vigilante-ness was in his past, which we'll get to at some point. But it's not a main part of his character, which is how I built him.
Right.
But when we started, hell, even his voice changed because I noticed what Surreal's voice was while we were talking, and I'm like, we need to have some differing tones going on. So
We're
like
both
we had
very similar talking to each other.
I was kind of like just talking like this. And,
Low.
it was like, no, we need some
Mumblecast.
variation.
Mumblecast.
Yeah. So everything changed right at the last minute. And it's still changing, probably. And the characters are evolving, just like us as people.
Growth.
Wolf.
Gwoof. Speaking of
Wolf.
Gwoof, I guess, we have some questions.
Oh, we do.
We do. We have 3 questions from Wild Delight, Wild with an E at the end, over in the Discord.
Wild.
So the first one here is for episode 16, Drew. 2-part question. As a character, does Zell have any feelings about trying 2 of the runes and only earning 1? And 2, as a player, did you have an interest in trying a 3rd time?
The Zell question is very easy to answer, and that is, he's just happy to be here. So
Glad to be invited.
he's there for a reason. He's following people around, but no. Zell would not have had any hard feelings about that. And as a player, yes, I want another 3rd. Then max me the hell out, please.
That part of Zell of the I'm curious and want to touch thing, that's just Drew.
Yeah.
That's just Drew as a
that's
player
literally
being like, I want to touch all the things. I want all the things. Give me.
Yeah, why put it there if I can't touch it?
Right.
If I see a button, I want to know what it does, so I'm gonna touch the button.
Drew as a player is just a rogue. Everything that is not nailed down is mine.
Or I'm gonna at least gonna touch it.
Or at least
Yeah,
touch
or claim church tax, I believe, was your other character.
Oh man, we never got to do anything with that. That would have been fun.
it. Church tax.
Church tax, it's mine now.
And as an expansion to that from my own question, did anybody else have interest as a player to try more, but didn't? Because I know, Moose, you were like, I'm out. But as Hannah, did you want to?
Yeah, I really wanted to do more, but going back to that, character discussion, Moose would have been like, that's fucking weird, I'm not in it.
Character choices.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
actually one of the moments where we've been talking a lot in our talking initiatives about like moments that I got like really impressed with Hannah or Drew of like sticking with a character decision. It like made me a better role play person and made me more conscious of it. And I was always like, it's just, I was really impressed because it was very much like we got to the moment where it's like, these are DM gifts. Nothing really bad happens to you. You get to go through a choose your own adventure story, and then you possibly get a really sweet gift from the DM. And I was really impressed with Moose being like Hannah committing to Moose, freak out about that and saying and rejecting that by saying this is not something that my character would want to go through again. And it would like I was like, oh shit. part of me is like 5 and is like, give me everything. But like, it is the smarter and like more satisfying like character choice to like say no.
Mhm.
So it's one of those moments that I was like, God, I gotta level up.
So I'm a fiction writer, and the way I write is very like discover while I write. I know a lot of people, like novelists in particular, will like structure every fucking part of their novel, and that's so boring to me. Like as soon as I know what the story is every step of the way, I don't want to write it anymore. Like I hate that. So that's, I think it surprises me too in the moment when I'm like, oh shit, no, she wouldn't do that. That's awful. It's fun. It's really exciting to see what the result of that is.
R.A. Salvatore spoke to that in one of the Dragon Talk episodes where he was like, I don't know what my characters are going to do until they do it.
Yep.
Like, I know they're not real, but they're real in my head. And when I get to a situation, I want it to go a certain way, and Driss can be like, that's not something I do, dude.
Yep.
And now the story has changed. So it's interesting to hear other people mention that. Next question. Monsieur Buckmaster. Did the players make any choices within their choose your own adventure scenes that surprised you?
Honestly, not really. I felt that once I kind of explained what the situation was and said that you guys are experiencing these moments as the giants within the thing, you very easily detached your character and player mentality away from that moment and goes, okay, I'm reading this story. I'm in this little snippet of story. I'm learning who this person is. What is this character's decision? But also the other part of that is when I wrote them and the decisions that I put in them weren't necessarily too far off from what I felt that these giants would choose to do. But also gave enough leeway for the players to make a drastically different decision based on what they felt was right in the moment. But no, I was very happy with what everybody decided to do. And I thought that they all ended really cool. And each story obviously had 3 different endings. And the one that really got me that I was really happy about was Morgan's when she was doing the fight with the giant and she chose the right one. And I was like, fuck yeah, you chose the right one. You chose wisely. Chop that motherfucker's head off. But yeah, I was very happy with how it went and getting to see everybody's enjoyment of like being locked in that moment and trying to figure out what the heck was going on was really cool.
Yeah, I think that was really smart. Basically, just giving us 3 options and crafting it in a way where it's not like, do you do A, B, or C? It's literally like, you gave a reason for the motion for the decisions that we were going for? Do you charge forth and really gave some emotion to it, or do you stand still and hold your, you know what I mean? Like It wasn't just giving us 3 options and having us choose, and
each story meant to have weight. This is a hall of heroes, and you're witnessing the moment of these heroes' death. Every hero has to go out with fucking a huge bang.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted each decision to have that weight behind it.
Really well done.
Well, the third question that we have goes off of this, but from more of a podcast angle, which was, what was the recording editing process like for those moments? I'll talk about the editing after we do the recording, because I was the editor for it. And Morgan was assistant editor for it. I.e., was everyone naturally silent if it wasn't their turn during the rune puzzle?
Us.
We're never silent.
No, that's not true. I think after like the first or second one, people got more into feeling the story.
Well, because I think at that point we realized that we were going to do all of them. You know, it was after the first or second one where I kind of got it in my head. I'm like, oh, these are fucking amazing, and I really want to listen to all of these. So it was very easy to just like do my part, but then also like turn off and just enjoy watching everybody else and do theirs. It was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think there was very little when John was talking about the stories or like telling, and when we were deciding, there were few moments where there was like chatter. Only when it was like, oh shit, what is the motif? Like, fuck. There was a couple of moments of chatter, like there, but for the most part, we were quiet. Editing those were fairly easy because then you could just like, here's big block of Bucky talk, and then we cut around that and like little responses from the person in question. And cut around that.
Yeah, usually the shadow was usually when I like flubbed over myself trying to say words because speaking is hard.
The oscillating fan.
The oscillating fan portion, the wind giant, that was hysterical. I love that moment.
I had a tag in the Reaper file that I was like, shit gets funny around here.
I specifically remember being really squirmy about him because I didn't want to like jump into somebody else's story, but I was also like, I know what the word is.
Yeah, that part was very similar to the previous episodes where we were doing the puzzles and then editing them. We're a bunch of idiots. Like, it took 20 to 30 minutes of real time. Thankfully, cut out a lot of that because it's not fun to listen to people go, So doing that was similar to us listening to other people's stories too, because we're like, we know what the answer is. We just can't say it. We can't help this. Just say the thing. If I think hard enough, they'll hear it.
Telepathy.
So it was fun to listen
Read
to.
my thoughts.
The editing portion, though, Morgan completely nailed that one. I knew exactly where all the stories were by just looking at the timeline and reading the waveforms, because it was just Bucky, a little bit, Bucky, a little bit more. So I was able to just chop, and then really concentrate on getting rid of the ums and the pops and all that from everybody's dialogue. So editing these was probably one of the easiest tasks we had, and especially choosing... Actually, the most fun part about it was choosing the music that accompanied each one.
Yeah, you did a real good job with that.
Thank you. So choosing music was really good, and then deciding when not to use music and use sound effects. Like two of my favorite ones was Morgan's battle, where I was able to layer two bits of music together that had nothing to do with each other. But I'm like, oh, here's like the vocals that would be in a chorus during a really epic scene, and then like a really heavy drum and horns thing. I'm like, this can work really well together. Let's see what I can do with it. So I got to experiment, which is always fun. The other one was Nick's with the blood one with the
I was going to mention that one. I loved that one.
Yeah.
Just the ocean waves was
no music, no nothing, just the sound of the ocean. I'm like, that's what it needed. I tried music on top of it. I'm like, nope, get that shit out.
Yeah. The ocean, and then that one little thunder crack when I mentioned the storm coming in. I was like, I'm so sad now.
That was a really fun part. There's a lot of fun parts to editing, says the editor. That's why I do it. There's a lot of parts that suck, honestly. But getting to take a raw bit of audio and transforming it into a good story and something that is very good and satisfying to listen to. It's kind of like coding in that sense too, of you put all this work into something that started from nothing, and you hit the compile button, or you finally hit play, and you're like, that's it. That's what I wanted. That's what that editing process felt like. I think that's all the questions we got. We have 10 minutes left. So Lilith, I know you're in chat, or if anyone else is in chat, if you guys would like to shoot out some questions. Does anyone have some questions for John or other players about these two sessions, or anything we want to get out in our last scheduled talking initiative? Hopefully nothing that happens in episode 17 or later.
So when we kill the Storm King, we go
in episode 18 for some reason.
Yeah, I'll just send you guys the map. You just get to point A to point B.
Yeah, the
final
episode.
Storm King's greatest weakness?
A bone. Anything.
Some treats.
Yeah.
Chicken bone.
He's too hard of a worker, you see. He works too hard sometimes.
Belly pats, probably.
Yeah.
Yes, Lilith, I'm putting you on
when
the
you
spot.
scratch him on the back and his leg goes like.
Yep.
Oh,
yep,
yeah,
yep.
that's a really good one.
Yeah.
Squirrels are probably the worst.
Yep.
My favorite is when you go and you scratch a dog's butt like right above their tail, and they do the dance. They do the little wiggle dance. Oh, that's so good. I just think about petting dogs now.
My dog back at my mom's house. Whenever I scratch his butt because he loves butt scratches, I get in there and I get it real good, and his legs just start slowly like sinking down. His whole butt starts sinking. His legs start like splitting open.
I personally don't have any questions or anything for it because a lot of the other stuff.
Oh,
there you go.
Sophie.
A good dog.
Look at that. Look at that dog.
A good dog.
She's so good.
Oh.
Do you have any questions for
that
Sophie?
Sophie, how is it that you are the bravest among all of us and best?
Sophie, why is it that you look like you have perfectly applied eyeliner?
Yeah, what the hell?
Beautiful. I was just looking at her eyes and I was just like lost in them for a second. I was like,
Sophie has
So
managed
dark and mysterious.
the fucking winged
The smoky
eyeliner
eyes.
that
Yeah.
so many have failed to do before.
See, it's funny. So
Beautiful.
Sophie hops in your lap. You know, she's being great, just looking at the camera. Kitten's over here, and for about
Licking
10 minutes, not even licking the plastic bags, which I showed you. She was licking the plastic containers underneath Gavin's bed. Just, I heard this weird noise, and I turn around. She's like, nap.
No.
5,
Kitten's a
10
weird
minutes. Yeah.
Cat. She's the strangest cat. Yeah. Well,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Discuss this very quickly. Game you're looking forward to the most in 2020? Any kind of game, doesn't matter. Just tabletop, video game, whatever.
Dragon Age 4. It's not coming out this year, but I'm looking forward to news about it.
All right.
Baldur's Gate.
Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm taking a whole week off to play it.
Last of Us 2.
I forgot that one.
It's gonna be good.
It's going to be real
It'll be
good.
real good.
Oh, is the
Come
new,
on, Nicholas.
is the
Well, I
Zelda
just-
sequel coming out this year?
Which sequel?
The
The
Zelda
Breath of the
sequel.
Wild.
Wild 2.
Oh, I don't think that was announced with a release
Okay.
date yet.
Yeah.
I just got a PlayStation, so I'm now like thinking about the old PlayStation exclusives that I can get to play. Like I just started God of War, Uncharted, Horizon, Last of Us. I have all these games now on my queue, just ready to go. But I kind of like the look of Cyberpunk. I think that's gonna be kind of cool.
Oh, yeah.
Cyberpunk's gonna
All right.
be fun.
I'm going to go with Animal Crossing.
That was
Yeah,
also on my
boy!
list.
Very
Yes.
excited for Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
It's March, I believe, right? Or April?
It's
Coming up
March.
soon.
I still have never
Also,
played
there's-
an Animal Crossing game.
There's a,
Same.
well,
Oh.
you should
You're
play this one.
missing out on a lot of
You're
bliss,
missing out
buddy.
on a lot. Also, there's a rumor that, and I say rumor because I saw no like sources or anything, but
Those
there's a
rumors,
rumor that you
yeah.
can load everything from PS1 all the way to PS5 games onto the PS5.
I think I saw that too.
Yeah.
I didn't see any sources, and that doesn't mean that it's not real. It's just what the thing that I saw was just an image, and that doesn't fucking give me anything.
That would be incredible.
I don't know if it means you can insert the media or if you can download the game, even if it's PS1 and PS4 from the store.
Still, I'd do that.
Either one. Honestly, if because a lot of people still have their PS1 discs lying around.
I do.
I have
I
like
got a whole
8
shelf of
back
them right there.
I got 8 that I'm like, one day I'll get the original. I'll get the little PSX.
Yeah. Lilith says Monster Hearts Blood Orgy Part 2.
Well, that's gonna happen this year. Don't worry about that.
All right. Well, that was a good question. There's a couple of other games coming out between March and May. That's just like I want that
There's a
and that
lot.
and that and
There's a
that.
lot.
Oh God. Yeah.
There goes my wallet.
Yeah.
The Sims is coming out with a tiny house expansion.
Oh my god, I hate. Ugh, you can always make
I
tiny
already built a tiny house.
Ugh.
What is a tiny house expansion for The Sims? I can make a tiny house.
I know.
Hannah,
I have a lot of feelings about this. I've been yelling about
They're
this
just
for weeks.
charging money at this point.
I
yeah,
know.
the Sims expansions are absolute like extortionate.
Also, and I've had this discussion. I'm going to have it right here, right now, in 4 minutes. I want to call EA out for their lying, and this is going to be a very weird, peculiar lie. But when Sims 4 was coming out, they're like, so many more options, including woohoo with yourself. That's not a thing. EA, you fucking liars! And they kept talking about it. They brought it up at every fucking chance, and you can't do it. What are you talking about, EA?
Wow, I did not expect that to be your anger about
There's
the
other
lack
things
of
about
masturbation.
it. No, there's other things about it, but that one, I remember them talking about that. They brought it up at the weirdest points. Like, you would just go to the Sims 4 website, like, oh, let me just, like, check out the thing. And it'd be, like, the first thing on their website. It'd be like, more woohoo options, including with self. And it's like, all right, I guess you're really proud of that. And then the game comes out and it's not there. So, like, this is definitely lying.
I'm pretty sure
And
the
there's other things in
expansions,
there.
the expansions is EA woohooing themselves.
Oh, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Because, and then also they broke up everything on The Sims 4 into expansions.
Yep.
Just so they
Yes.
could charge you, I think if you buy them all, it's like $1,200 or some shit.
Each expansion is like $40. And then like the game packs can run anywhere from like 7 to 20. In the most, like, I haven't told Hannah this yet because I knew I wanted her face on camera. So over the break between New Year's, Josh and I downloaded Sims 4 on the PS4 and we made versions of ourselves and like built a house and like
And Gavin.
And we've been like,
No, you put that in the Discord. You talked about that.
oh, I
Sorry.
did.
Yeah. You
Rats.
don't get my authentic in-person
That's
discuss.
fair.
We're
I
like,
think the best thing.
we heard Hannah vomiting from New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
I
like
was
that
in
you-
North Carolina. Whoa. Like 6 Apache helicopters are flying by my window right now.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
Time to kick it off.
I can't wait to die in the next war, y'all.
All right, that's not how we're gonna end talking for the
No.
last time.
John was
got
saying
1 minute.
something. What
I
were you
was,
saying,
I was
John?
gonna say I like the fact that you put me in your Sims game and named me
did.
Buck Nasty.
I
So
did
whenever
name
they
you
come to
Buck
whenever they go to my house, it's the nasty house.
I just want to say that in our car under Bluetooth, Bucky has his name for his phone as the nastiest of bucks.
Yep. We have
Well done.
we
Well
have
done.
my phone, we have Morgan's phone, and then Lilth's phone because
We still
she
have
lives with
Lil's
us.
phone in there. Yeah.
And
They're
the
gonna hack
nastiest of
you.
bucks.
Yeah, it was one of those things. They're like, "All right, what's your Bluetooth name?" And I'm like, "Oh, you'll see it. You'll see it pop up."
And my battery died, and I thought everything was going to get cleared out. It didn't. So that is still there. It survived a battery change. So solid. All right.
All right.
We have to sign off now. Morgan, would you like to go first and also pitch the new show that you're on?
Yes, I would. So I'm Morgan. You can find me on Twitter at Thistle Raven. I'm really excited. I have been and started a new venture with the Venture Maidens every other Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We are going to be doing the Dragon Age tabletop game. I'm playing a very fun Australian named Emmy Lou, and I'm so excited about it. We've got a really good group of people. Casey from the Lucky Die. We have Bianca from the Broadswords. Sage from the Venture Maidens is DMing, and then we have an absolute newcomer who has been so wonderful, named Rihanna. And I'd love it if you guys could come and watch us. It's been really great so far.
And hear Morgan's really good Australian accent, like shockingly good Australian accent.
I've been stressed out. I actually went to my coworker the other day who is Australian, and I was like, I would like you just to critique me. And her response was that it is slightly off, but it sounds more New Zealand than drunk Cockney, and I will take that any day. I would rather sound a slightly Kiwi Australian than the anything else. So, but I'm really excited. I've been listening to a lot of those good Australian Sans Pants boys to get the perfect no
And girl.
and Cass. But I've been listening to Plumbing the Death Star, and Cass is unfortunately not on that, and it's a shame because she
God, disappointing.
should, yeah.
John.
Hi, I'm Bucky. I'm the DM of the show. You can find me 2 times a week in the Void. I'm also not on social media, but yeah, and you can find me on this podcast that I run at this current moment. And there's lots of fun things happening in the future.
If you have something that you would like Bucky or John to know, you can always tweet it at me. And because I live with both of them, I will
Yep.
repeat it back to
You
them.
can just shout it at my face. It's
Mhm.
fine.
So
Yeah.
tweet in all caps. So
You live with Bucky and John.
as loud as possible.
At Jonathan Buckmaster. What's up?
How you been? How you doing, boo?
Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick. I play Barty McFly. Social medias are Nico Figs and Ikeo Figs. First trailer for a new FX show I'm working on, Mrs. America, just came out. So check that out. That'll be out in April. Very excited about that one. But other than that, bye.
Bye.
Hannah.
I'm Hannah. I'm on Twitter at Tinder Organic. I don't do other things. I'm going to be applying to MFA programs this year. So send me your good vibes while I cry over everything I've ever written.
Dope.
Drew.
Dope.
I'm Drew, and I play Zell on here, and you can find me on most social media at cyber_Sasquatch. And if you can't find me there, it's because I don't want you to find me. So, haha, secrets. But I do have exciting news. Starting the 30th, I will be running a stream of Band of Blades with Lauren from Nerds on a Roll, Kim from Corpses and Curios, Kit Battlebeard, our friend Fav, and Joe, as they attempt to survive the undead hordes in a gritty military fantasy world.
Huh. Ooh.
And Touchford is going to come back at some point soon, so that's just an excuse to listen to me babble for an hour with Valanda from The Lucky Die.
Sweet. I'm Josh. I play Mortimer. Ignore the social media tags under John's and my names because we are no longer there. But if you need to reach us for whatever reason, we are in the Discord. So you can hop in there, join us there. It's a nice community of people, a very supportive community of people. And we share that Discord with the Nerds on a Roll folks. So if you listen to that show and listen to us, maybe that's a good place to be. If you want to find the Twitter account for the podcast, it's at TI_pod. You can find any other links at takinginitiativepodcast.com. Besides from that, this, again, is the final scheduled talking initiative. If we have any more in the future, like for maybe end of arcs or end of show or anything that we decide, or we go, hey, we missed doing this, let's bring an episode back, just pay attention to Twitter or the Discord for announcements about that. We will obviously give a heads up if that is going to be the case. And you guys can meet us right back here. If you want to see the back catalog of the episodes, you can always go to our YouTube channel, which you can find the link on our website, and you can watch all the ones we've done so far, plus our bonus games and things like that.
I would also say keep giving us questions in the Discord. Yeah. We might answer them there.
Yeah.
I mean, we will answer them there, or we might save some really yummy ones for end of arc stuff to talk about.
Yeah. Keep an ear out for Monday because episode 17 will be out. If you are a patron, you already have it. So have a listen. And I believe that's all the announcements. Yeah. I think so. All right. Let me find these hotkeys to turn off this stream here.
No!
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.